it is now time for us to try and create our own original piece of artwork. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create a banner that's going to go on my Google Classroom header that students will see when they log into my Google Classroom. So you're more than welcome to work along with me and create your own piece of artwork. And if you choose not to, this is probably a good time to stop the video. However, if you're one of my students or a student at my school, you may want to do this because I'm thinking of doing a competition where students will create a banner for a teacher and the best banners will get featured on their teachers' websites. So that sounds pretty cool. Yeah? Yeah, awesome. All right, so let's get to it. So we want to create a banner for a Google Classroom, and in order to do that, we need to know the dimensions of that banner. So a quick little Google search, and I can see that it needs to be 1000 by 250 pixels. So I am going to then go and I'm going to create a new file. So I'm going to go new, and I'm going to go to more in my Google Drive, that is. Okay, more, and I'm going to go to Google Drawings. Now that I'm in Google Drawings, I will select File, and I'm going to go to Page Setup, and I am going to select Custom, and I am going to use pixels in this case. Whoops. So 1000 by 250, and I'm going to hit Apply. Now what we want to do is we need to plan this out. So what I would do is I would get a piece of paper and I would sort of draw out what it is that I want to have displayed on this particular page, and then I would work towards producing that. All right, so let's imagine I've done that because I have a design in my head that I know will look good. So what we want to do now is we want to set our guides. So I'm going to set my guides so I can have my workable space. You can see that it kind of made two guides there. I don't really want that middle guide, and it gave me a center guide by default. So the center guide is not so bad because if you look at a Google Classroom, in this section here, probably from around here to here, you're going to have your teacher's name displayed, the class displayed, their Google Meeting address here, and possibly some other content, okay? So you want to kind of keep this area free. So putting a guide around this area around center, okay, is not necessarily a bad idea. So if you look here, this is 10.4, so half of that would be like 5.2-ish, right? Okay, so we want to find like a 5.2, and this guide should snap right in the middle automatically anyways, okay? All right, so I'm going to delete this because it's a distraction right now. And now what I want to do is start finding images that I can use. So again, I'm going to put my guides on the ends here to make sure that stuff doesn't get cut off too much. All right, it doesn't have to be precise or perfect. Now, I have already gone and found some graphics that I like. All right, so I'm going to use those graphics. So one of the things that I sometimes will do is I'll start possibly with the background color, and sometimes it will just be a temporary thing, but I have a background color that I want to use. So being a person who liked punk rock music in my childhood and to this day, I'm going to go with this plaid background in honor of like some of the punk rock bands that, you know, came out of Ireland and stuff like that. All right. So here I have this background. It's not a great background because it's a little bit blurry, but it's going to be good enough. So remember I told you you can click and hold Alt and copy, and I'm going to hold Alt and Shift so that it actually moves in a nice straight line, and I'm going to pull it over here so it clicks to that one. And it actually clicked beautifully. Okay. Then I can click both of them, and I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to hold down the Alt and the Shift together and click and drag and move it over here to get the red line again. Boom. It looks really nice and seamless. And now I only need one more at the end, so I'm going to hold Shift, Alt, and I'm going to pull that one over here. And you can see, oops, I failed. So I can click this and hold down Shift and just pull it in and let it lock. If you ended up with a space like this, what you can always do is just hold Shift down and use your arrow keys and merge it, click off of it, and see that the space has been covered up. And if you don't see a space covered up, then move it just a little bit more. You want to keep the pattern consistent. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my arrow, which is my select tool, okay, which is also by default you can hit escape. and I'm going to highlight all these layers that make up my background, and I'm going to right click and hit group. So that way I don't move them all over the place. What would be really great is if there was a lock feature on this layer, but I don't know if there is one. I have not been able to find one. So if someone knows that in a comment, you can leave it down below. Tell me, hey, there's a lock feature, and I will be giddy and full of glee. The next thing we will do is we will go over here. I always keep, this is just a little designer tip, when you're working on a smaller monitor, I always kind of pull my window in a little bit, and I have my source files off to the side. So being a punk rock theme, I'm going to now go and grab a guitar. So I'm going to grab a guitar and I'm going to pull it onto my artboard. So here I have the punk rock guitar. The only problem is it has a white background. So it drives me crazy when students create graphics or people create graphics and they don't remove the background. And some people say, well, I don't have Photoshop to do that, or another design software to do that. And that is a valid excuse. However, this is my favorite website to use, called remove.bg, and then right here it has a simple little spot for you to upload your image. So again, I'm going to click over here, I'm going to grab my guitar image and I'm going to pull it onto that little box there, and it's going to say, here you go. Now if I look at this really close, there's a problem. Down here I can see some checkered patterns, here I can see some checkered patterns, so that means it removed all the white on the outside, but it also removed some of the white from the design of this Flying V guitar. So what I can do is I can go to Edit, and what I can do is I can go to Erase and Restore. Okay, so I can click that, and now I don't want to erase, because if I erase, hit this, it's going to just cut right through the neck of the guitar there. But I can go to Restore, and I can go down here and just slowly, you're going to see, if you look closely, I'm now drawing in what was removed. So there's no more checkered patterns here. Okay, so I don't want to hit the outside edge of this guitar, so I got to be careful. It's worth being cautious. Okay, and I'm just clicking and holding, and I'm drawing that in, and then I can just sort of scribble down the middle, and I think that's pretty good. I'll hit download, and it's going to say download image, and I'll be happy with that. And then it just it names your file and puts remove BG in it so that you can identify it. So I'm going to pull it out of my downloads folder and put it into my file for this project. Okay, so now we're done with that, and now I can actually go here, delete that one, go and find my guitar with remove BG and pull it in, and now you can see, hey, it's got a beautiful, it's been cut out. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab the little spindle here, okay, to spin it, and I'm going to hold shift down because I want it at 45 degrees, and there I have my first guitar. And what I can now do is hold the Alt, or I can just Command C and Command V, paste another guitar in, and I'm going to hold my Shift key again, and I'm going to pull this one over this way so that it goes 45 degrees in the other direction. Here's what I want to do next. So I have these two guitars here, and I want to then select them both. So you can see now I have them both selected. And I'm going to go to my arrange thing here, and I'm going to say align. And what I want to do is I want to align them to the tops so that the guitar heads are at the same point. And so now they are both in the correct location. All right. I can also adjust how close they are if I want by pulling using my arrow keys. Okay, but I think that looks pretty cool. Creates sort of an X here, which I like. All right. So now I'm clicked one, and I'm going to hold shift down and select the other so they're both selected, which is a good tip for you to know. And I'm going to just use my arrow keys, but not holding shift because I want to move it quick. And I'm going to move it over to this section here. And now I have to sort of visualize what will look good. If my name is over here, okay, and I have my guitars here, I want them maybe in just a little bit. Especially if students are using their phones, it's going to cut off the edges of this, and they're going to miss out the coolness of this graphic. Okay, so we have something like that. All right. Next, I'm going to put my initials of my school. So we've often see this in like bands. They'll have these X's and then they'll have initials on the side here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to create a text box. I'm just going to draw a text box of a reasonable size, and I'm going to put S. Okay, now that is the lamest S, and the one thing with Google Drawings is they don't have a lot of great fonts for you to use. Okay, so you have very limited fonts. You probably could add more fonts if you wish. We're gonna just go with a simple one. Let's go with like Lobster. Lobster's kind of lame, but we're gonna go and make this bigger. So I'm gonna go that's way too big. Let's go to 36. That's not bad. Let's go with 30. And I can also type in numbers if I wish. Okay, so I have it there. Now what I like to do with my boxes like this is I like to go up here to the centering, and I like to center it in the middle vertically, and I like to center it horizontally, and that way it makes this box easier to work with. And then I can sort of shrink it down and it doesn't move all over weirdly. Okay, I want the box around it to be as small as possible so that I don't click it by accident. Okay, so there we go. And it doesn't adjust its size. So I have it in a spot that I think will look good. And if I want to, I can drag a guide down here and I can say, all right, I kind of want my box to be right in the middle of that. So I can click on the edge of that and move it using Shift and the arrow key. I can move it where I think it'll look good. And then I can also kind of go from the middle. I can say 1, 2, 3, then 4. That will be good. Command C this box and Command V it. So I have 2 of them. And I'm going to now go over here and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Count out. There we go. And I'm going to do one more. So I'm going to select the box with my arrow, and I'm going to go Command C, Command V, or Control C, Control V on a PC, and I'm going to now line this part. So I get rid of this one now, and I'm going to pull one of these ones over, so it's the middle of the guitar headstocks where they're meeting, and I'm going to now put that one holding Shift down. I'm going to fine tune its location, and I'll bring it in just a little bit, or I can do the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that looks pretty good. And I'll maybe drop it down just a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to bring maybe this one in just a little bit. Maybe bring this one in just a little bit. Oops. Okay, so now I'm going to change the letters here to S, C, and A for my school, Springs Christian Academy. So there I have kind of a cool design going. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a banner because I got to spice it up a little bit. So I'm going to go to the images here, and I'm going to go out with callouts, and I can see, hey, there's some banners here. Which kind do I want? What kind do I want to use? So I can go with this, and I can now click and drag and move this over like so. Okay, and I can place it over top the bottom of the guitars. I can again use my arrow keys to move it around. And I'm going to pull this out a bit, give myself a little bit of like some sort of cool look. Ideally, probably having these over to here would be good. So we could stretch this out a little bit if we wanted to. And that looks not bad. I went a little bit wild there. Okay, don't need it quite so far over. Okay, and again, I'll move this over. Oops, I'm typing inside there by accident. I'll move this over. That's pretty close to what I want. All right, and so now I can type in here, our school rocks. Yes, it is cheesy, but kids like cheesy jokes, and so we want to have fun with that because they're like dad jokes, and everyone likes their dad. So I got that in there. I'm going to change the font back to Lobster for continuity. I'm going to then go here, and I'm going to center it. I'm going to center it vertically and horizontally, just in case I change the size, it will adjust it accordingly. And I'm going to change the color of this, and I'm going to make it white because I want it to be bright like my guitars. So our school rocks. Woo! So we have our basic design now made. I'm going to get rid of this guide. It's in my way. And what I want to do is I just want to add another point of interest on this particular page over here. I know that the name is going to appear up here, so I want to actually have something down in this little left side. So I've got this graphic here that is a PNG file. And the advantage of using PNG files is that it actually creates a transparent image, which means that if this were a graphic, I could put this graphic on top of anything and you would see whatever background is behind it. Only the image that I've created will be visible. The background wouldn't be white or gray or pink or whatever it is. Okay, so here you'll see an example of that. So I bring this in, boom. You can now see that there's nothing appearing on the outside of the actual graphic itself. All right, so I'm going to just double click this graphic because I want to crop it. So I'm going to crop it down and make it a little bit smaller like so. Okay. So I got it done like that. I'm going to click off of it now. So there we have it. And I want to now, I want to actually scale it. So I'm going to hold Shift down to scale it so that the length and the width don't get messed up. I'm going to pull this over the edge, and what I want to do is get this to line up kind of right here with the edge of the banner. So I'm going to do that and hold shift down still and get it roughly to where we need it. Okay, so like that. There we go. So I'm going to pull it over to the left a bit now, and I'm going to use my shift to kind of fine tune it. And what I need to do now is I need to actually push it behind this banner. So the quickest way to do it is to right click, go to order, and then say send to back. So now it's behind everything. But I know that I can now just select this background and right click on it and say order send to back. And now it dropped behind this one, and now it's in the perfect place. All right, so there we have our graphic, and it looks pretty cool if you ask me. And what we want to do now is we need to save it. So we got to go up here. I'm going to give it a name. I'll call it classroom banner. Okay, and I could select the folder if I wish, but I'm not going to worry about that now. And I'm going to go file, and what we want to do is go download. So how do we want to download this? I would go with a PNG or a JPEG. Either one is fine. PNGs are cool. So I'm going to go with the PNG file, and now it is downloaded to my computer. Show in Finder. I have my banner. I'm going to pull it into my project file here, okay, for my video project. And now what I can do is I can go to my classroom. Go to classroom, and I can select my classroom, and you can see I already made one here. But what I'll do is I can now say upload folder. Once the upload window appears, we can see that we can drag a file there. So I'm going to grab my banner PNG that I just made, and I'm going to pull that in, and it's going to say uploading, and it's going to then ask you to place it on your screen where you want it to fit. So I'm going to go like so, drag it across like so, and then I can say select class theme, and you're going to see that it's saying changing, and boom, it moved it over a little bit and up a little bit higher than the previous one, and there you can see that my graphic has now been replaced. The only problem is Google applies sort of a darkened transparent layer on top of your work. So that's the only downside of creating your own graphic. It doesn't look quite as clean as yours, but it's still pretty cool because it's your own design. Alright, so that's all for this video. I hope it was informative, and I hope to see you guys having some fun with this.